Hey guys, it's me again. Today's Thursday. We're so close to the weekend. We're getting there, one more day, and we're scot-free, which is very exciting. I know I am ready for the weekend. I'm sure all of you are ready for the weekend as well. So today I'm talking homecoming. I'm talking the months 5 and 6. So generally, at least for the Marine Corps, our deployments are like 6 to 7 months. So today I'm going to be talking about the last month leading up to them coming home. Josiah is about to come into the door because, of course, I just went live. So if you're getting on, just let me know you're here. I swear it's like clockwork.
Mommy,
What, babe? Yes, you may. Okay, sorry. So if you're getting on, just let me know you're here. Either put a comment down there or some kind of emotion. Whatever you want to do is fine. It is like clockwork. It was silent in here. They were outside playing. Now everyone's going crazy. Okay, so for myself, whenever I knew Michael was coming home, there's this high level of anxiety and anticipation. It's a really intense month. There are many things that start flowing through your brain. It's kind of like having a baby because you go through this nesting phase where everything has to be perfect. And so all the laundry has to be done. There cannot be laundry. There cannot be dirty clothes. The house cannot be dirty. Everything has to be perfect. I remember when the kids were little, we would make signs with their handprints and their footprints, and we lined our entire driveway, like up, down the sidewalk. The whole thing was lined with American flags, like the mailbox wrapped up in American flags, and there's flags hanging off of everywhere, and big signs, welcome home. And some people have theirs printed, which is really cool. Then you can keep them. I never did that. I always just had the kids just splatter paint with their hands and their feet all over a sheet. One time he came home and we put welcome home, whatever rank he was, Hester, and the S we made into the Superman sign because that's what he likes. It was ugly. I am not artistic. So there's all different ways to get ready and to celebrate them coming home. But you also really have to focus on the kids if you have kids, because it's a huge transition for your kids when their other parent has been gone for so long and now they're coming home, because everything is going to be thrown off for them, everything that they know. And it doesn't matter how old they are, even from babies through teenagers. It changes the way that your house runs. Everything changes. And so it's just this anticipation, and it's like, where do they fall in, right? So like parenting. I remember Michael would start to get on to the boys, or even just Christian whenever it was just him, and I would step in and say, don't talk to my kids like that. Because they have been my kids for so long. And so I remember a number of times we would get into it because he would be like, they're my kids too. And I'm like, but you haven't been here. So now how are you just going to step back into the house and start throwing your demands around? You don't get to just come home after 6 or 7 months and start telling us how things are going to go. We've been fine. And so it's very difficult to readjust kind of into everybody finding their role again and finding where they belong. And so knowing that or anticipating that causes a lot of anxiety. I do think it's a little more difficult when your kids are in the toddler stage. Let's say from 18 months, even older than toddler, I guess probably through 5 or 6 years old, because as the stay behind parent, you've had to establish the ground rules and enforce those rules, and so you know what you expect from your kids. They know their routine, and so when that other person tries to step in, it's so easy to say, that's not how we do it. He's not listening to you because you're not doing it the right way, i.e. the way that I do it. And so it can cause a lot of gnashing of teeth, if you will. So you have the anticipation of them coming home. I remember going and hanging up the signs on the battalion so it would hang perfectly as the buses pulled up. The reality is the wind's blowing, sometimes it's raining, like it's just a mess. But you go and you find the perfect outfit, the outfit that looks amazing. You get your hair done, you get your nails done. There's just so many exciting things about it too. And then when the buses pull, we've done it a number of ways. We've had the buses pull up and we've also picked up from the airport. So we've had it a couple of different ways, but I think it's fun when the buses pull up because there are so many people and everybody's like shaking and nervous and you're crying. You don't even know why you're crying. Like you shouldn't be crying, they're back. But it's just that release of emotion of like the stress of all of it is over. Like 6 to 7 months or even longer of worrying about whether or not your spouse is going to survive, and here they're about to step off the bus. It is this emotion that just takes over you that I can't even explain it to you. And so that's why the women always cry, because it's just like, oh, just the smell, and it's not good. The smell is not good when they get off the buses. It's not good at all. They've been sitting in planes, and who knows the last time they showered, and who knows why. It's not a good smell, but it's still like, you just love it. You just want to soak it in, and you know, you want them to hug the kids, but you're like, I'm here too. Don't forget about me. And just that initial contact, that initial, like, you're able to hold them. It's like you're able to breathe again. I remember seeing like all these little bumper stickers, like half my heart is in Iraq, half my heart is in Afghanistan, which, for the record, if you're a military wife, I don't suggest getting, because hello, follow me home. No one else is going to be there. That's what that says to me. So I don't suggest putting those bumper stickers on. I think it's crazy when women do that. You're just asking for somebody to follow you home because they know that your spouse isn't going to be there when it says half my heart is in Iraq. So please don't do that. But the idea of half of your heart being in Iraq or Afghanistan or Africa, I've seen them, you know, all different kinds. It really is so true. And I think that that's what's so overwhelming when they're back, is like, you just feel like you can breathe again. Just knowing that they're here, you can breathe again. And then they had to do all their checkout stuff. So you finally get to leave. This could take a while till you actually get to like take your spouse home. So you finally get to leave. You get in the car and it's like, hi, how you doing? Like, it's so awkward. And the kids are just in the back seat. And you have to remember, these people have been in a combat zone for months. And now some of them don't drive when they're there. So now they're back. They're driving again in regular civilization. They are expected to just fall back into where they left off. And their mind is so, I almost said a really bad word. Their mind is so jacked up and just in so many different places other than where you think they would be. You want them to be in the moment, and sometimes they are. But depending on what happened in that deployment, there's a really good chance that they're not just going to come right back. They may never come back, which I will get to tomorrow in my video. And so you want to remember that even though you just want to like embrace them and you want to just bring them back in 100%, like, they need a little bit of time. There's an adjustment that has to happen for everybody. And the military spouse is in the same adjustment as the family. They don't know where they fit in. They don't know what their role is. They don't know these kids anymore. You know, imagine not seeing your kids for half of a year. They don't know them. When Michael came back on his last deployment, Josiah was 3 months old. And I'm like, oh, here's your kid, change the diaper. I'm going to get a manicure, right? He's like, I left with 2 kids that were self-sufficient, and now I'm here with 3 kids, one of whom I can't even feed, you know. So it's just, we have to remember to be patient with them. And the sleep schedule is off. everything is different. But because we are just so ready to have them home that we expect them to just fall right back into who they were and fall right back into the role that they played before. And excuse me, it can be a little bit awkward because that doesn't always happen. So we tend to have this burst of energy because we're like, oh, thank God, we're not the only parent anymore. We have another parent here. But then this other parent is like, I'm not ready for that. Like, I am not ready to dive in 500% the way you want me to. I'm still trying to decompress the crap I've just seen for the last 6 or 7 months. And I guess my point in giving you both sides is that it takes a lot of communication. You have to communicate to your spouse that's coming back, this is what I need from you in this moment, or this is what I expect from you in this moment. And the military spouse needs to be able to communicate and say, I hear that this is what you need. I'm not able to give that right now. This is what I'm able to give right now. I'm able to sit on the couch and watch. That's all. That's all I can do. And we have to be okay with that. You have to let them come back in, finding their spot in the family, in the house, in their own time and in their own way. And it's so hard because we're like, you're back, let's go, let's move and groove. And they're not quite, they're not always ready for that yet. So with us, because in my mind, when he was deployed, I kind of convinced myself of this story of what he was doing. I convinced myself that he was playing football on the streets or soccer with these Iraqi children, that he was giving out flowers to the women, that they were, I don't know what I thought. I was going like rated G movie that my kids could watch, but the reality is he was living in hell. And there, come to find out, which I didn't find out for a while later, there were multiple times where he was just lucky to be alive. And I shouldn't say multiple, that might be a little bit dramatic. I actually don't really know. I don't even really know exactly what he did or saw. I know bits and pieces of it, and it's not my story to tell, it's his, so I won't be going into any of that. But I know that there were times where he was just lucky to walk away. He was lucky to just be breathing. And because I didn't know that at the time, you know, I don't understand why you're not sleeping. I don't understand why you don't want to be with your kids. Do you not even want to be here? Like, you don't even want to be here with us? You want to go back? I don't understand it. Are we not important to you? And it would cause these conflicts. Damn, am I going to cry every time I do these videos? Because we weren't able to communicate to each other what was going on. The first time that he deployed and came back, we pretty much went directly to my parents' house for my dad's birthday. He was going to be 55, and actually on his birthday that weekend, it was the day of his birthday, and my dad passed away. And here comes Michael, who just got back recently, fairly before that. And now we have this other tragedy that we're dealing with. And it's like all of these super crazy emotional things were happening in our lives. And we had this major thing, which was a war that he had just gone to, but we couldn't even deal with that at the time because we had all these other things going on. And that was 12 years ago? Is that right? Let me do the math real quick. Yeah, it was about 12 years ago. And to think that some of those things that have happened, we are just now dealing with or trying to work through and come to terms with and talk about, I mean, that's a long time to push those things off. But society, they don't understand. I don't understand, and I live with it, you know? So it's not a judgment thing, but like when he comes back and then we go visit family, everyone's just like, hey, how was it? Like, why are you so happy? You have no idea what happened. I mean, I didn't either. Totally not judging. but that's how people are, right? You're like excited to see them. The guys want to hear stories, and it's like this nightmare that they were stuck in, and they had to live repeatedly day to day to day. And there's not a lot of help when they come back with dealing with the things that they've had to do or see and experience. And it's very difficult. So back to homecoming. It is very exciting, but it's also very scary, and it's very nerve-wracking. And so I remember every single time I was shaking. I was nervous because I didn't know who was coming home. They're not the same people. Michael today is not the Michael that I married. He will never be the Michael that I married. The Michael that I married was a 23-year-old guy, who was totally carefree, didn't have a care in the world. We were stress-free. That's not the case after you've experienced something like that. So he came back a different person, and each deployment has dug into that difference just a little bit, which has meant that we have had to adjust our relationship, because, you know, in any marriage you're going to grow and you're going to change, and things are going to happen, and you usually do those things together as a couple. When you're in a military marriage, the change that occurs when they're deployed is something that I'm never going to understand, but I have to accept. And so it's on me then to adjust my reactions to him, my reactions to his reactions, and to make it known and understood what I will accept and what I won't accept. And that is an ongoing process. It's quite difficult when somebody is so different from who you married. Doesn't mean that it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just different. It's what it is. I have like notes down here because I knew I was going to get all crazy. So like I said, this stage of deployment usually comes the month building up to them coming home. So after they're home, you have this great honeymoon period. You have this great honeymoon period, and everything is great, and everyone's getting along, and everything is wonderful. And then the emotions, the true emotions, those underlying things start to come through. And for me, it was my loss of independence. Suddenly, I couldn't do what I wanted to do because I had someone else, another adult, that I was responsible to communicate where I'm going to be. Suddenly, instead of going and hanging out with my girl Jacole at night at her house every single night and sleeping there or whatever, I have to be home by a certain time because there's another person that wants to be fed and wants to hang out. So there's the loss of independence. With that loss of independence comes this, you feel sort of claustrophobic, like this person is now in my bed and snoring every night. It's so cute when they get home and their bags are everywhere and you're like, oh, I'm so happy to have your socks on the bathroom floor again, for about a week before you're like twitching. Like, can you unpack your bags and put them away? The laundry basket, that's 6 inches from where you like to drop your clothes, can you actually just put them into the basket? Oh yeah, and your toothbrush and your hairbrush, yeah, that sink has actually been really clean for like 6 or 7 months. So if you could just help keep it the way that I had it when you were gone, that'd be great. These are all things that have actually been said. There are arguments, big arguments that we actually have. And I know that we're not the only military spouse to have these arguments. In hindsight, is it silly? Of course it is. I should just be grateful that he's here. But what I need is for him to pick it up. I need him to get back in the routine and understand that you're kind of coming back into my space. My space has been my video for so long, and now you're coming in and your stuff is everywhere. And so you have a loss of independence. Then you have this need. I want my space back. This need for your own space. like I was saying earlier, you have to kind of renegotiate what are the roles going to be and who falls into what role. And in that, what does that look like? Those are all things that have to be discussed when they come back. You can't just assume it's going to happen. You can't assume that they're going to know what you want. So before you end up in an argument about it and you're screaming and yelling because he doesn't discipline your kids the way that you would discipline them, or he doesn't load the dishwasher or put them to bed the way that you would put them to bed, you have to communicate and show, it's like with your kids. You teach by what you do. So don't expect him to come home and put the kids to bed that night. Say, I'm going to put the kids to bed. If you want to come with me, I'm sure that they would love to have you in there. And then you take control of the situation and let them kind of stand by. Let them step in as they're comfortable to do so. And then if you feel like after time it's not happening enough, you need to verbalize that in a calm manner, not a psychotic manner. We tend to get a little crazy when we want something. So that's homecoming. It's exciting. It's nerve-wracking. You get those butterflies again every time you see them. You wake up in the morning, you cry again because you're just so happy that they're there. It is so much fun. That homecoming is so much fun. But there's another side of it too that you just have to understand, that they have a huge transition from where they've had to be on watch all the time to coming back. And so they're different people, and you have to understand they're coming back different people. So to be very understanding about that. Quick story, and then I'm done. The last deployment that Michael did when he came back, I didn't tell the kids he was coming home. So Josiah was 3 months old, and the kids had no idea how long he was going to be gone for. So I called my girl Melissa. I went to college with her, and her husband's actually stationed at Camp Lejeune too. So I called her and I was like, hey, can you do me a favor and take pictures for me of our homecoming? And so I think I put those pictures in my blog yesterday, but I can't remember. And so I told the kids that we were going to be meeting my girlfriend Melissa at the airport so she could greet her husband coming home, and I was going to be taking pictures for her. So my kids were young. They were all excited about it. Like, this is so cool. We're going to get to see her husband come home. And so we had this whole stuff. They never asked why she had the camera and I didn't. They never asked about it. And so Michael gets off the plane. Like, I can barely breathe because I felt like I was 5,000 pounds because I had just had a kid a couple of months ago. I didn't want him to see me. I wanted him to come home and me be like perfect again, like petite and small and all in shape and pretty. But instead, I didn't look terrible, but I had just had a baby. So I'm like a nervous wreck. Like, he's not going to want to be around me. He doesn't want to see this. This is gross. And I've got the kids all done up, and I'm so nervous. And so he comes out of the terminal, and he comes around, and I'm like, oh, there's my husband. I'm just so relieved to see him come out of the terminal. Well, the kids don't even realize he's there. He was in normal clothes. He wasn't in his uniform. And so they didn't even spot him out. They're just playing. They're not even paying attention. And I think it was Christian does a double take and just screams. No, he didn't. He was like, Daddy? He couldn't. He wasn't really sure if that was him or not. And it was so cute. And then he went running into Michael's arms, and she got great pictures of it, and he picked him up and everything. Jacob was a little more timid. He wasn't really so sure. At that time, he was 3.5. He wasn't really as sure that he wanted to go to Michael as much as Christian was. He was 6.5, 7. So he was a little more standoffish at first, but I have the best pictures of Michael seeing Josiah for the first time ever. And that was a really fun homecoming. That was one of my favorites. So I'll look and see if I posted those yesterday. And if I didn't, I'll post them today. So go check them out when I post my blog tonight. Tomorrow it's going to be hot and heavy. I'm going to be talking about what happens months, years after deployment, how it affects I always want to say Marine, how it affects the military member, how these deployments have affected me. That's mostly what I'm going to be talking about. Like I said, it's his story to tell. I'm not going to speak for him. But how it has affected me, my life, and our kids. Really, really hard to talk about. Really hard to talk about. So I will be doing that tomorrow afternoon, and I hope to see you there. You guys have a great night.